The following is a presentation of the IH Sports Network. You're listening to the Monday Night Roundtable. For the next 2 hours, we'll talk local high school sports with the voice of the Oneida Indians, Tim Smith.
10-5, touchdown, Indians.
Give me the corners, 2 scores, baby.
Give me the corners.
The voice of the Scott Highlanders, Rick Keaton.
Throw the ball, has a receiver long upfield, chasing it down. Made by Rylan Griffith. And he'll take it all the way to the end zone.
Produced by the IH Sports Network, the Roundtable begins now.
Good Monday evening, everybody. Welcome to the Roundtable. We are live from the C. Michael Lay Technology Center in Helenwood, alongside the voice of the Oneida Indians, Tim Smith, and the voice of the Scott Highlanders, Rick Keaton. I'm Ben Garrett. Thank you for joining us. We'll be here for the next 2 hours as we talk high school sports. We're going to have
Marv West of the Oneida Lady Indians is going to be here shortly. Tim, he's so excited. He's already here early. He couldn't wait to see us. Jake Wright from Scott High Lady Highlanders will be here as well. We're going to talk Scott High Wrestling. Those folks will be here a little bit later on as well. It's almost hard to believe winter sports season starts just next week. But we're still in football mode, Tim Smith, especially yourself, because you got another game to do Friday night as Oneida goes up to Happy Valley. They get the shutout win. Very impressive performance by the Indians on Friday night.
It was, as you mentioned, the shutout, first shutout since 2021, since Northview Academy. And against this Happy Valley team, I don't think that's what Indian fans, Indian folks were thinking was going to be a thing, because they looked a lot like Hampton of old, and then Bledsoe County, York. These just want to put it on the ground, pound it, and drive the football. And we had some trouble with, obviously, York and Bledsoe County with that this year. And so, they were a big team. Didn't seem to be missing any parts. There wasn't. They had a receiver that was out, but I mean that wasn't really their strength through the year. And so we were expecting a pretty big battle on Friday night. But Coach Mark Martin had his defense absolutely dialed in and ready to go from the very beginning, and they really set the tone. Happy Valley got the football to start the football game, and Jesse Zachary on a third down. They ran it twice, couldn't get anything done, and they were going to try to run a quarterback design run around the end, and Jesse Zachary blew that up, and it was a 3-and-out for Happy Valley. And so it was just a nice tone setter for the Indian defense. The Indian offense was unable to capitalize a couple of times, but the Indian defense kept holding, and then eventually Oneida was able to string together some plays and a drive. And I think the biggest thing, the defense has been really good under Coach Martin, and they've just gotten better as the year goes along. You wrote a great article on the youth of the Indian defense and the way they have begun to gel and kind of set the tone for this team. And we've had trouble stringing together drives, but probably the biggest other surprise of the night was the Indian running game and how effective it was. And it was effective not just with one person. I mean, Jesse Zachary had a nice night running the ball. The freshman Xander Lau, back healthy, was our player of the game, mainly based on his rushing in that game. The line was getting a good push against a team that was used to running the football. So I think for myself, that was a little bit unexpected to see the ease with which the Indians were moving the football on the ground. And then they mixed in some timely passes. And if you watched the game, you saw that there was several times that the passes were on line and our receivers didn't come down with the football, a couple of times even in the end zone. And so there was points left on the field. So there's still things that obviously could be improved for the Indians and are going to have to be improved if they're going to compete with the York Dragons on Friday night in Jamestown. But, I mean, overall, it's hard to come away from that game looking at it and being concerned that there's a big problem with the Indians. They seem to be coming together, doing good things when you need to in the playoffs.
Forcing turnovers defensively. Mm-hmm. That was a big key, and it also led to really a couple of times, I believe, good field position for the offense, and that was another big key for the defense.
No doubt about it. We had the field position the entire first half. Mm-hmm. I don't think Happy Valley crossed midfield. I think they had 15 total yards in that first half. So I mean, it was just a completely dominating first half. They came out though and a well-coached team, a team that had won 7 games and won 7 in a row. They came out with a plan in the second half, and they started executing it, and that's when what you talk about, the turnovers happened. The first 2 drives of the second half, they were moving the football, getting into Oneida territory, and both of those drives ended on turnovers. And they are just not a team that's built to come from behind late, and it was an uncomfortable attempt to try to pass their way back into the game. It wasn't going to happen. So it was a big win for the Indians. I mean, it never felt like the Happy Valley was a threat in the game because the Indians' defense started off so strong early, and we got the points and had the 14-0 lead at halftime. So it really felt like almost. I'm sure the coaches wouldn't agree with this, but it almost felt like just cruising to the end. That there was really not a time when there was a threat.
So 11 games into the season, you know what you got with Oneida. They're not a team that's going to put up a ton of points offensively, but one thing they've done all season long is they've scored at opportune times, whether it's a big long play or maybe they just find a way to get the ball in the end zone at critical times. That happened again on Friday night with the Caden Rector touchdown pass late in the first half. I think there were 33 seconds left on the clock because if it's a 7-0 game at halftime, that's a whole lot different than a 14-0 game with the way that defense was playing. At that point, 14-0 at halftime, no doubt the coaches felt differently, and maybe you guys in the booth felt differently. But at home, at 14-0, we're thinking this game's over.
It did have that feel.
Happy Valley hadn't shown any real movement of the ball, and you think, hey, the defense has done real well. Come out, don't change anything defensively, just keep pressure. And you knew they'd make adjustments. They did, but hey. A lot of credit to the Indian football team. I thought everyone stepped up, both sides of the football, the desire to win and come home happy from Happy Valley.
Yeah.
Last week we talked about the fact you mentioned that Happy Valley was so similar to Bledsoe County and to York, and you go back 2 weeks ago and I think I made the comment that as Oneida was preparing to go to Bledsoe County that the way Oneida plays defense, they're going to be in the game against anybody. Well, then Bledsoe County put up 300-plus rushing yards that week. Really surprised me. Going to Happy Valley, I thought that was a little bit of a concern. They just want to line up and run over you. They didn't run over Oneida on Friday night, not even close. Not one snap in the red zone for Happy Valley the entire game, which I thought was just exceptional. And here's a statistic to kind of put in perspective what Oneida was able to do defensively. It's hard to go on the road in the playoffs and pitch a shutout. There were 111 playoff games in the state of Tennessee on Friday night. Do you know? And so that's 111 teams going on the road to play Friday night. Do you know how many of those teams shut out their opponent?
I do not. No.
One. Oneida was the only road team that went and got a shutout on Friday night. So, I mean, I think that just kind of puts it into perspective what they were able to do defensively. So,
and one of the very few teams in Region 1 or Region 2 that had a road victory. Most of the home teams did win.
Yeah, statewide, I think there were 23 road teams that won, so about 20%. It was just a big upset, and I don't know if it's fair to call it an upset. I mean, we sat here and talked about it Monday night. We felt like they matched up pretty well with them, but a good win.
Well, and I think to be fair, even the Happy Valley folks told us that they felt like South Green was the most athletic team in their district, and that South Green had let one get away in overtime to Happy Valley, and this is from Happy Valley people, right? And they felt like South Green was a very dangerous team. So we saw I think they put 3 scores on the board against Bledsoe County, so they were right about that. And then Hampton held serve. Polk County gave them a strong game, but I think Hampton, Greenville, and Elizabethton are the only teams on the eastern side of I-81 that are continuing on.
So Hampton got the win over Polk County 36-19. Bledsoe County, as you mentioned, they get the win over South Green 42-21. Those two teams will square off Friday night. Now you've already put your prediction on paper. You think Bledsoe County is going to take that one to get to the quarterfinals. You did he not? A week ago, he said it.
Oh, I said it a week ago.
Bledsoe County over Hampton.
I don't remember that.
And
I think they will. Hey. I mean, Hampton, they struggle with Polk County. I just think Bledsoe's different. I think they're a very good team, and. I think Oneida's got their hands full, obviously, with York, and it's going to have to be, without a doubt, the best game that Oneida plays in the year, and they still may not be able to beat them. You have to play defense like we did Friday night. You have to turn them over like we did Friday night, and offensively, you have to not drop open passes. and you have to take what they give you. And I really think you have to have clock-eating drives, which is maybe something we haven't really done either offensively this year because we haven't had that run game that we saw Friday night. So, I mean, all those things were positive signs, and it's going to go up a huge notch going into the number one team's house because, again, I was looking at it today, and they just don't give up points. There's only 3 teams that have scored more than a touchdown on York this year. So,
yeah, they have. Go ahead, Dave.
I think it's very interesting. If we think about York, and their defense really sets the tone. They may not score a lot either, but their defense, they know that they can possibly shut out any opponent or certainly limit you to maybe a 3 or 7 point game, and they build off of that.
They certainly scored a lot on Friday night. They put up 61 on Eagleton. And Eagleton kind of prided themselves. They haven't had a great season, but they prided themselves on their defense. You keep looking at York. You know, they made it to the semifinals last year. They returned to everybody. Everybody, before the season started, they said, this is going to be a state championship team potentially. You keep waiting for them to show a crack in the armor. They haven't shown it yet.
Well, and I mean, you look at the forecast. So it's supposed to start raining Thursday night and continue on all through the day. York's got to love the thoughts of that, right? That's what they want to do. So, you know, it's a very tough prospect going in there, but it's also a huge opportunity. You know, nobody's expecting Oneida to go in. Really, probably most people aren't expecting Oneida to go in and even give them a game. And so, you know, it's an opportunity to go in there and build on what has gone well and continue to get well last week and try to take down the number one team in the state. High school games are short. If you can shorten them with a couple of turnovers and take advantage of some opportunities. So
don't compare scores.
Right.
The games are played on the field. Very important that you never forget that.
It reminds me of those middle school games too. I mean, York has seen us. York came up here. Mm-hmm. They beat us 28-0, and so it's hard to tell those kids, hey, now you're going to have to take Oneida. Oneida's not going to be like they were when we were up there. Sometimes it's hard to convince your team that it's going to be just a little bit harder or not as easy. But that's where Coach Derwin Wright, and I know his defensive coordinator Mark Winningham. I've known him for a long time. And those guys are not going to let that happen.
So at 8 o'clock start time Friday night in Jamestown, we'll have the broadcast, Tim and his crew, starting at 7 o'clock. We don't know yet if that's going to be live video. We're still waiting to get confirmation on what we can and can't do. We'll be there one way or another.
8 o'clock Eastern.
8 o'clock Eastern time. Our broadcast will start at 7 o'clock. Rick, real quickly before we go to break, let's talk about some scores from Class 3A. We talked about during the season, Scott High was in the fight for that number 4 spot, and we talked about whoever gets the 4 spot is going to have a tough road to hoe going up to Gatlinburg-Pittman. Well, Gatlinburg beat Union County 70-0. Just absolutely took them to the woodshed. Alcoa advances. They defeated Chucky Duke 56-6. Kingston over Johnson County 35-0. Maybe the one thing that surprised me, Austin East over Unicoi County, 48-43. So Austin East plays on. What surprises you about those first round games? Anything?
Nothing, because I'd picked Austin East to win. I did not expect, I think, GP to win by as much. I thought that they would win 45, 50 points, but they just poured it on. It's a tough place to go up there and play. It's the field named after their former head coach, Benny Hammonds. I mean, so they take a lot of pride up there. Of course, they've got the artificial turf up there. It's sort of a different world. I won't say I have to fight for a place to be, but Tim knows that. He's been up there. Yeah. And I told him a couple of years ago, I said, man, when you go up there, go to Conchita, and ask her if you can sit on the other side because you can't see out of the press box space that they made up there for you. So there's nothing about the scores that really surprised me, Ben. Who won the game? The one surprising score might have been how much GP scored, and their talent. They got 2 D1 wide receivers. They've got a running back that's like 1,600 rushing yards this year with speed and everything. They've got a lot of talent. Well, now, if it all plays out, it would be Alcoa next week, so we'll see what talent versus a lot of talent really gets you.
Yeah, you know, Thursday night in the regular season finale, Austin East against Scott High had a comfortable lead. They're kicking onside kicks. They're throwing the football. And I think someone made the comment that they'll run into somebody who's going to do that to them. They won't have to worry about it this week because they got Alcoa, and nobody calls the dogs off quicker than Alcoa. But I think Alcoa is going to be okay, and it's going to be Alcoa GP next week.
And I'm not sure that Alcoa calls them off this week.
You think? Well, it'll be interesting to see. All right, so with that said, we're going to take a break. When we come back, we'll continue as we flip to basketball and talk to Coach Marv West. Welcome back to the Roundtable, live from the C. Michael A. Technology Center in Helenwood. Ben Garrett alongside of Rick Keaton, Tim Smith, and we're joined by Oneida Lady Indian basketball coach Marv West. We're supposed to talk some more Oneida football, Tim, but I think those guys are celebrating maybe a little bit the shutout on Friday.
Celebrating the shutout, yeah.
Also looking ahead to York with some film study today, so they'll be a little bit late. We'll get to them later. Coach West.
Worked out good for me being early, right?
Absolutely. We're glad you're here. We were glad you were here anyway, but we're glad you were here early. Your team getting ready to go against Midway next week, and I know you're excited to get the season started, and so much work goes into this in the summer and then fall and all that.
It's year-round. You know you've got kids
absolutely.
playing. I mean, it's year-round.
Finally here, and these interviews with coaches, it's so cliche, and guys always ask, how do you replace so-and-so, whoever graduated the previous year, and the coach always says, well, you can't replace so-and-so, and it's all true, but I got to ask you, how do you replace Kelsey Pike? You only lose two seniors, Rachel Elmore, Kelsey Pike, but when one of those seniors is Kelsey Pike, that's a big loss.
Well, yeah, she's the best shooter I've ever coached in 20-plus years, so you don't replace her, and more important than anything, both of them, they're just great young ladies, great, easy to coach, played hard for us, never had the first problem out of either one of them, and you don't just replace, and we've got a lot of people just in positions now that I don't think some of them never thought they would be, because injuries, we were talking a little bit off camera.
Yeah.
And I'm sure we'll get through all that.
So, well, let's just jump.
I'll let you lead me.
Let's jump right into that, because I was going to ask you about that. I know you, Cameron Stiltner and Lydia Klein and Ellie West had surgery. Your daughter had surgery, and I know you've had a ton of injuries to work through. So where does all that stand? Tell us about each of those kids. Are they back?
We'll start at the top. We'll just go down the list with Cameron. She got to go to two camps with us this summer before she had surgery, and it was one of those things for her. It was either have it now, you can put it off, but her shoulder was just popping out of place all the time. So she had shoulder surgery on a torn labrum, and then Ellie had to get her kneecap slides out of place, and they had to get it realigned by, it's called a lateral release surgery. She's back, but she's still hurting a lot. Lydia, who finished off the year about as well as anybody we had, was coming in the gym working daily, playing travel ball, just did a jump stop and tore her other ACL. Well, that ACL and meniscus are great. It's the old knee injury she's having trouble with, and she's allowed to do certain things. And it's hard for her, especially a kid like her. She is so competitive. It's hard to pull the reins in, but she's figuring that out. She's got to pull the reins in some. She wanted to be back yesterday. She wanted to be back a month ago, and she's not. She's just not ready. But she also looked the same way this summer. Not this previous summer, but summer before at MTSU. She looked the same way then, and it just took a little time. And then there was a breakthrough moment for her. And then Lacey Llewellyn missed most of her freshman year. She had to have hip surgery. And it's been a tremendous battle for her to come back from that. I mean, she's worked her butt off, and she is practicing. She is allowed to do things. It's just getting experience for her and getting her comfortable with everything.
Yeah. And these are all kids. I mean, now that you moved to 2A this year,
all four of them could play this year.
Depth, you got to have more depth, right?
Yes, you better.
When you're you're running with these teams. So I mean, it's every person counts. Everybody's got to be there. So what is that going to be like? Because I know I talked to somebody the other day, and I told them I used to, we'd go to the state, we'd watch single A games, and then I'd watch the double A games and the triple A games, and I would think, I wonder if I'm even capable of calling that as well, because the speed picks up. It's just so different. So
especially the boys. So
especially
there's going to be. I mean, you guys have seen it. There's going to be some track meets. I mean, And we're both going to be faced with where we were the ones running. There's going to be nights we can't. There's going to be nights where I'm going to have to say, guys, let's slow it down. And then we got to hold on to the ball on top of that.
Mm-hmm.
So, it's going to be new for me. We've played teams like this before, but it didn't matter because it wasn't a district game.
Yeah.
So, and it matters now. So we'll just see. I mean, we've got to get up to speed. One, we got to get healthy. But if we can get everybody back healthy, it gives us a better chance of making some noise, hopefully by the end of the year. But it's like I told the girls, we would get away with things in the old district. There would be games we didn't play hard and still win.
Mm-hmm.
We do that now, we're going to get beat 60. Right. I mean, it's just a matter of fact.
So just to close out, talking about the injuries, what's the timeline on everybody that's not 100%? When do they get back?
Cameron, December, hopefully the first week of December. Of course, Lacey's back, Ellie's back, but it's getting them conditioned and ready to go. And with Lacey, it's making sure she's ready to play and that she's capable, because she missed almost her whole freshman year.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll be honest, last year I was hoping to get her ready for this year. She's a rebounding machine. We need that bad. We need it bad. And she doesn't care to get in there and mix it up. Lydia, it's a coin flip. I mean, hopefully December she starts to get to do a lot more and gets to do some live stuff. And then we'll just see from there. It's just, that there's no timetable for her. It's just figure out when she's ready, she'll be ready.
So this first go around of the region, your first region game will be December 12th. You'll be at home versus Eagleton. You got 5 other teams in the region without putting yourself in the mix. We did this with Coach King last week. 1 through 5 as the most formidable. Who's the top team that is going to be likely the best, as if everybody stays healthy?
Well, I mean, from what I gathered, just talking to some people and going to the state tournament and getting to watch some games, Gatlinburg-Pittman has almost everybody back, and their core is back. I think they could win it in any class.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they're that good. Kind of like with the boys, Alcoa is that good.
Mm-hmm.
And you got some Division I top talent. After that, I would think Alcoa had a lot to replace, but they've got a lot of kids.
Sub-state. They were sub-state last year.
They did lose their best player and some more, but still yet they've got plenty of people coming back. Pigeon Forge. They've got a guy who used to coach. He's come back. I can't think of his name right now, but I think he's got a daughter kind of down, and he's trying to get that program revived because it used to be pretty good. And then I would think Eagleton.
So did
I name Austin East and Eagleton in that?
About the same.
I would think. I'll be honest. I'm more worried about us than anything, and we'll scout them as we get films throughout the season and go from there.
So we talked about the injuries and the players you don't have, or at least aren't going to have as the season starts. Let's talk about the players you do have. You've only got 3 seniors, but all 3 of them have been multi-year contributors for you. Starts, I would think, with Rayleigh Bush. You took her early on, and I don't know, coming out of middle school, maybe if people saw her as being an elite-level defender, and you've used her from day one as kind of your player you're going to put on the opposing team's best ball handler. She has done exceptionally well at that. Where has she gotten even better defensively?
It's just attitude. I mean, she loves it. She loves playing defense, and she always has. And I told her as a freshman, you'll be the best defender I ever coached if you keep it up, and she is right there. And she's leading us on offense too. She's in the gym. When I left, she was still in there shooting and doing some things. She wants to be a great player, and she's really committed to it. And those girls, she's a leader. They're going to follow her. She's a silent leader. She don't say a lot. She Donja Robbins type. If you remember Donja, she definitely leads by example. And for us to be successful, she's got to score more than what she ever has. And she's got to take care of the basketball.
So going in with this change this year, and same way with the boys, we're looking at it, we're saying, oh, these teams are coming in. But is there something after all the years of coaching about it's going to be different? You're not like the hunted as you usually have been, even though there's been favorites, down the line. Sunbright would have been a favorite over you guys in the past few years at times in Wartburg, but you've always been in the mix as one of the one or two that could probably take it. And now it's different. Is there something? Does that awaken anything, or is it just a different feeling? You've never had that, right?
I've never had it. I mean, we've had teams coming in and out of the district, and our district's realigned before, and we had a 12-team district or 13-team whatever several years back, but nothing like this. Now, the only thing I could compare it to was when the football team went to AA those years. Now, granted, we may have been blessed more with athletes during that time than they've ever been blessed with. I mean, I watched most. They were behind me. Those guys were behind me, but I watched them grow up, and they were just so fun to watch in not only football but basketball.
Right.
And talking to Heath Sexton, it took them a year to just get acclimated, I guess. And the next year they were beating some of them.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to just be a different ball game for us. We can't take plays off. I'm going to have to change up things we do. I'm going to have to run some more zone like I've done in years past. They're just going to be bad matchups for us some nights. We got to know where people are. We got scouting reports have to matter now. The kids have to get something from it.
In years past, and I know that playing non-district games against tougher competition is not the same as when you've got to play them night in and night out in your district, but you've always scheduled tough teams early. That way when you get to the postseason, your girls aren't going to see anything that they probably haven't seen already, and that's paid off for you, I think, more than once. But you surprised your opponents, done better than expectations in the postseason because you weren't afraid to schedule up. How does this season – I mean, I look at your schedule, you're playing Oakdale, Harriman, Coalfield, your former district opponents early.
We tried to keep some rivalries, some teams around. They wanted to, most of them. But you don't want to just water down your schedule because that's not going to do you any good, because it will be shell shock on those nights that you play Gatlinburg and Alcoa. I mean, it's just going to be a different game. But we kept Clark Range. They're always going to be good. Didn't get to keep York because of keeping some of the other schools. Oliver Springs they're getting ready to go on a run. They've got some really good young kids, freshmen and sophomores. They're getting ready to be really good. But
so you're saying Coach Christopher's going to come off the hot seat? Is she on the hot seat?
I don't even know.
No, she's not on the hot seat.
I wouldn't think so.
No,
my gosh, you go to state championship games.
No, she's on the verge of getting the GM ring named after her, right?
I'll vote for that.
So Tim got us off track. I'm just kidding, Tim.
No, that's all right.
We started talking about your seniors. You've got two other seniors, Grace Shoemaker and Analia Terry. Talk about them and the roles that they will play, and then any other players that you want to mention individually that are going to be in your rotation.
Well, obviously with Grace, she's played a lot of minutes. Very heady. We talked about this last year when we talked. She's a coach's kid. She gets stuff, which helps her in some areas she's not as good in. But she's working hard every day. She every rep matters to her. We need her to make some buckets. We need her to help handle us in pressure situation. Analia, if we can get Lacey or Larissa ready to play some minutes, won't be outmatched as much as she's been, in the past, having to guard big girls from Coalfield and places like that.
Right.
And we are going to see some big post players. So hopefully we can get some of those others up to speed to where they can help her, and that way she can be in more of a comfort zone. And, Analia in the past has knocked down some threes for us, made a few plays. She can rebound. So we need her to just do a lot of little things well. Of course, Ellie. We need Ellie to score. We need Ellie to get a little tougher rebounding because she's one of our bigger kids, and she did a lot better this summer in camp games and travel ball. I need her to handle the ball. And she's never been a point guard, but she's going to have to help play the points at times. And then Mahala Martin, super athlete, just got to get her minutes. Got to get her accustomed to playing a lot of minutes. I got to throw her in some last year, but she's going to get all the minutes she wants this year. We really need her. Got some other juniors that are going to get opportunities early. Kennedy Shoemaker's going to get some opportunities with Cam out and with Lydia out. It opened up. We need some more guards. Mm-hmm. We need some people to help handle the ball. I need Kennedy to be able to defend, to be able to rebound. McKenna Terry at post, if she can battle with those others, may get some minutes. It's just they've got to just bring it every day.
Is there somebody that you would point out? I know Coach Jacob King. Somebody you would point out as they're going to surprise people from watching them last year, watching them this year. They've really developed, and you're going to really see some difference here this year.
Well, I mean, I think, Rayleigh, I think has improved so much.
Wow.
It's just she is going to have a lot on her.
Yeah.
So she had a lot of 20-point games this summer. But when people scout us, what are they going to do to her?
Right.
And how is she going to handle it? So, it's going to be very interesting, night in and night out for us. But I'm excited. We were doing some defensive drills in practice earlier, and Jason Pike's helping us this year. I'm so glad, thankful to have somebody else because, the girls get sick of hearing me and Dave. It's the same old, but he's brought us a little energy in the few practices, and all three of us were just getting really excited when in one of the drills when some of them started making some plays, and they all just kind of looked at us. I said, guys, this is what it's about. This is what good teams do. You get excited when you make plays, and you make plays constantly. You don't make them one every 20 possessions.
Right.
So we're going to try to get there.
So as your team gets set to make this move up from single A to double A, how are the girls approaching it? Is there trepidation? I know you probably beat that out of them. Or is there an excitement towards ready to face this competition?
I think several of them are excited. I think some of them are just in a role that they've never been in, so they don't know what to think. But I know we talked when it happened. I said, it is what it is. We can either make excuses or we can work. One way or the other. We're going through it one way or the other. So they said, we don't want to make excuses. Let's just try to play hard and see what happens. And, I know some of them, Rayleigh wants to play college ball. You're going to be in some gyms with some coaches that are going to be watching some of these girls. Impress them,
Yeah.
So it's a good opportunity.
And I do know why you kept Clark Ranger on the schedule, because you're going to pick Coach Rogers' brain. If you can get a 4-2 lead in that first quarter against Alcoa, you're going to run that weave he's got out top.
Well, we'll see. Yeah. No, I really like the fact that you mentioned Rayleigh there. I think she's a quality point guard. She can play out front defensively, but I think she handles the ball well. And a lot of good teams that you're going to see this year on your schedule, point guard play is very important for all of them. And so that's a great start.
You've called games long enough and seen handling the ball against good teams will either keep you in the game or it will immediately take you out of that game.
That's right.
You're not going to have a chance. You come out and have 7, 8, 9 turnovers in the first quarter, there's no way you're coming back.
So, Marv, you go to you get ready to face Midway. You're not going to Midway; they're coming to you on next Tuesday.
Yeah.
So, with your injury situation and all that, what's your rotation going to look like?
Well,
are you as far as a number?
Right now, I'll probably play 7 or 8, and like I said, some kids are going to get minutes, and I hope they prove to me that they're taking advantage of this, because it will build depth down the road. With that being said, we'll see. I'm preaching to them daily about that. I just, take advantage of it. You couldn't have asked for a better situation for you. Take advantage of it. Midway's good. They didn't lose anybody hardly from last year, a player or two, and point guard was a freshman last year. Kaywood, she's going to be good. Got a little height with the Arms girl. We're going to have a test first thing, and I figure Midway and Sunbright, those will be the two teams. That'll be fighting for that region championship.
So Coach King was here last week, and he talked about if there's ever a good time to move up to 2A for him, it's this year, because he's loaded. He's got all that talent, and senior talent especially.
Now he does have a lot of talent, and those kids are working hard.
For you though, the situation's kind of this is terrible timing with all the injury situation.
Yeah, I've had some teams that would have been more equipped at this time, but the injuries are what's getting us worse than anything. It's been a tough off season. I'm not gonna lie to you, it's been tough. You don't want to see your kids going through stuff like this, and people that have never been injured don't understand it, or never had a kid that was injured. there's a lot of mental stuff that goes on as much as the physical.
And it's a slow process because they want to come back quicker than they should be doing it, and that leads to more injuries. So you have to monitor that and hope that their therapist's doing the same thing. And finally, when they say go, then you can turn them loose. But it's tough coming back from the knees and the ankles and the hip, especially if you're a basketball player.
It's a lot. But I love the girls. They're great young ladies. I've watched them grow up, most of them, from playing in junior pro up here at the Boys and Girls Club. I mean, I want them to be successful. I want them to have a chance, and that's all we can do.
All right, Coach Marv West, thank
y'all
you
for having me.
Good luck, and I'm sure we'll see you again a time or two on a roundtable for this season's
We'll be
over.
around.
All right, we'll take a break. When we come back, we'll switch back to football for a minute as we talk to Oneida football players Justin Lynch and Eli Jordan Sexton right after this. Welcome back to the Roundtable on the IH Sports Network. We're live from the C. Michael Lay Technology Center in Helenwood. He's Tim Smith. He's Rick Keaton. I'm Ben Garrett. And we're joined now by Oneida football's Justin Lynch, who is a sophomore, and Eli Jordan Sexton, who is a freshman. Now, Xander Lau was our player of the game, first National Bank player of the game Friday night. He was unable to be here tonight, but Eli Jordan Sexton was our Trophy Masters lineman of the game. And I don't know why Justin's here. All he did was kick.
Yeah,
I'm kidding. He big field goal to put that game out of reach. As I'm listening to the broadcast, and I'm going to say this, and I'm going to throw these guys under the bus.
Didn't we establish that
I watched
earlier?
it. I don't know if
Rick
you listen. I
listened.
watch it.
All right, shut up. This is my time. I'm thinking this guy had 2 fumbles, a fumble recovery. What does it take to get player of the game with you guys?
Look, I'm going to blame that on linemen, as we've established. Again, if you're watching the games, as you claim that you are, you would see that the lineman of the game is picked by former lineman Bo Kidd. So there you go on that one. The play of the game is picked by John Strunk because there's really no credential for him. And then the first National Bank player of the game is picked by Mark Matthews because he's the star of the show.
You let one guy pick player of the game.
That's how it works.
That's why Levi James has been here all season.
That's in the contract. But, I mean
Xander had a great game Friday night as well. But you also had a great game. You've had a great season. Very steady performance as a sophomore kicker, Tim.
Absolutely. And I'm going Justin, this is Justin's first time. It's Eli's second time. So I'm starting with Eli. He's more comfortable. He's ready to go. So Eli, talking about this defense, I mean, you got your first shutout. You guys were a little bit late. We had you scheduled for an earlier segment, but you were busy because you had watched some York. And what happened because you pitched the shutout Friday night? What did they do for y'all?
I don't know.
Pizza?
Yeah, pizza.
Pizza. All right. Yeah. So let's talk about this defense. And I mean, it was from the beginning. What did they tell you? What did Coach Martin tell you about Happy Valley that had you guys so keyed in and ready on that very first drive?
It was just like stay low and just be fast. Just like be physical.
Yeah.
Be fast.
And you are very physical. As a freshman, I mean, you have worked your way into the lineup more and more this year. And what about Happy Valley size-wise? How did they compare to teams like York and Bledsoe? Were they close to the size, half the size? I mean, were they?
They were like, no, nothing.
Not as close?
Not as close.
So saying that, this Friday night, York, is this one of the more formidable big lines that you've gone against? Which one's bigger, York or Bledsoe?
I'll say York.
Yeah. Tougher and meaner too.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that being the case, what do you have to do this week to work against that York line to keep them from pushing you guys around? What's going to be the key?
So if they're double teaming me, I have to cross face them, and then just what Coach Martin told me Friday night.
Absorb that double team. Let somebody else do the work.
Yep.
Yeah, that's a good plan. Now, Justin, I look kind of smart because I talked about Justin before the game. But the reason I did that, and you mentioned it, it's a season of work. There may not have been a splash play that Justin had this year, but I got to looking at the stats that Bo sends us each week as we were going into the first game of postseason. And I was looking, I was seeing, so Justin, he's been so solid on extra points. It's hugely important. You don't see a lot of that in the high school level. A lot of teams just go for 2 because they can't develop somebody that'll give them a kicking threat. And so then I looked at, so he's only had at that point he had only had the 1 field goal attempt all year long. He had hit it, and then he hit another field goal on Friday night. And then also one of those things that just gets lost in the stats is over 40 yards a kickoff. And so, I mean, that's setting a tone, whether you're kicking off to start the game or you've just scored and you're trying to make sure they can't answer. Having those kickoffs is like that. So I'm going to ask you, Justin, that consistency, where do you feel like that comes from?
Just working all summer and, like, lifting enough.
Now, you had to replace a pretty good kicker, right,
Yeah.
Luke Barna?
Yeah.
So and I know replacing Luke, you're working with his dad and Luke, right?
Yeah.
And Luke kicked a couple extra points this weekend at Tusculum in their game. So what's that been like working with the two of them?
They help a lot. Like, they've helped me since my freshman year. And, I mean, Luke gives me a bunch of tips on what to do, and Jimmy just coaches me, like, all through practice.
Mm-hmm.
But, yeah, that's about all they do.
So what about, like, I know Friday night you were 1 of 2 in the field goals on Friday night, and you had a chance, but that first one you attempted is way over on the left hash.
Yeah.
Does that make a big difference to people that don't kick? We may not understand that.
Not, like, really to me. I mean, it's harder for right-footed kickers, but it was my bad on that. I swung, like, way too left, like a soccer-style swing. But that
so the hold was good?
Yeah, the hold, the snap, it was all good.
So name, snap, hold, who does those?
Braden Birchfield done it on that play because Josh was hurt.
The snap?
And then Gabe Brennan holds.
Yep.
Yeah.
He's done a great job all year?
Yeah, all year.
Same thing on the extra points?
Yep, everything's perfect.
Yep. All right. So it's a big key because a lot of teams, like I say, just don't have a kicking attack or a kicking threat, which the Indians do with Justin, just a sophomore. That's nice. And we had one last year. So, Eli, going into this Friday night, you played York the first time, and then they got the win. They're the number 1 team in the state. I mean, is there anything you see in the Dragons that is a weak point, something you guys can attack?
I say when I get double teamed and I pull them down, the linebackers should go in that hole and get the quarterback or the running back, whoever has the ball.
Okay. Now we've not really had a game where it's been really wet on the field this year. We've had a little bit of rain from time to time, but it looks like Friday night it's going to be a pretty sloppy field. How does that affect you?
I don't know really.
Because we haven't done it. Well, here I ask a freshman that question, and he hadn't done it. But so how do you think it will? Is it going to be tough to get the leverage that you need, or?
Yeah, probably that in the field where it's so slippery and you can't get that boost.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so now you are a freshman, but it's not like you haven't had a lot of experience playing. You were on a middle school team last year, right?
Yes, sir.
And that middle school team was a champion here in the Eastern section, like they did this year. So what are some of your best memories from middle school and the times when you were there and getting those championships?
My favorite time was in the Wartburg game. I got like 3 sacks, 5 tackles, and that was mostly it about my favorite time in middle school, and then us winning our championship.
What's the best feeling, the sack or stripping the football away from somebody?
A sack.
The sack?
Yeah.
All right.
So do you think 3 sacks and 5 tackles would have been enough for Mark Matthews to make him player of the game if there was a middle school player of the game?
Sure. Yeah, but again, that's Bo. That's on Bo. We're going to blame Bo
Sorry,
Kidd,
Mark.
who is not here. He's picked Eli twice. So
you're saying Bo takes him out of the rotation when he names him lineman of the game? Okay, that makes sense. All right, there you go.
Sure.
All right,
I'm not sure.
All right, we'll roll with that.
So Eli, is there any other freshmen that you feel like we're not recognizing enough? I mean, we got Zan. It's pretty amazing that you have your first playoff game for you guys in high school, and the lineman of the game's a freshman and the player of the game's a freshman. So is there another freshman that we should be recognizing a little bit more?
I think Cole Meredith.
Cole Meredith.
Yeah.
All right. So he's one to watch.
Yeah.
All right. Justin, I'm going to ask you that. Do you play any other positions, or are you just a kicker and that's it?
Just a kicker.
That's a very smart answer.
Yeah.
Good business decision. Do you play soccer too?
Yeah.
Yeah. So between the two, do you have a favorite?
I mean, I've always liked soccer my whole life, and I've played it my whole life. And then football, just like it came in my high school years, and I like it a lot now. It's probably my favorite.
Yeah. Is there somebody that – because sometimes, if you're kicking only, it may be that you're not participating with the offense, not participating with the defense. And it may not feel like there's somebody welcoming you in because you're just with the other special teams sometimes. But is there members of the team that have gone out of their way to make you feel welcome on the team?
Yeah, like all the seniors and stuff, they've helped me. They've like told me good job and stuff, congratulated me.
Yeah.
And I feel like they've helped a lot by fitting in.
Yeah. What about this team? The team seems to like each other.
Yeah.
Is that fair?
Yeah, everybody's all like we do stuff together. We go watch film every Wednesday.
Yeah.
And like we're all like bunched up.
So now tell me, talking about this game, second round of the playoffs. I think Ben's pointed out there's 16 teams remaining. 16 teams. That's all that's remaining. So it's an opportunity. Is there more? Are people worried about this York team, or do you feel like there's a chance? Do you feel like that people outside are thinking there's a chance? How do you feel about it?
I mean, I think we're like gonna win. I mean, I think it's gonna be a good game, but I mean, I think we're gonna win.
Okay. What do you remember about on the kickoffs? Is there somebody you got to keep it away from?
Yeah, all the time, every game. He always tells me something, and I mean, I'll do it wrong sometimes. I'll kick it to the wrong person or kick it wrong, like he wants to squib or like right high, left high. It's just I don't know like on York yet. We've been watching film, and I'm gonna watch some more film.
Okay.
But we'll figure it out.
All right. And what about onside kicks? How much time do you spend practicing onside kicks, and how good are you at it? Just be honest.
I'm like pretty decent at it. We have one where it just goes straight, like we kick it straight. Like Pat
let's
McAfee.
not give him any tips. We don't want
okay,
to
yeah. Like Pat McAfee.
Or sometimes it goes left and right. You don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, we do it right, left. I can do it middle.
Gotcha.
I mean, I can do it everywhere.
Right.
But, I mean, I'm pretty good at it, I'd say. I mean, I still got 2 more years to work on it.
Have we done any onside this year?
No.
Not a time?
No.
Okay. So Friday night could be the night.
Maybe.
And I'm going to ask you this because I asked Eli, and then we realized it hadn't rained any this year, but have you practiced in the rain? Does it affect? How does it affect you?
I fall a lot. As soon as I land, I just slip back.
Yeah.
And the balls are like way down more, so it's harder to get get them farther.
Okay. So on what's the farthest you've hit in a practice?
49.
49.
I hit it at a camp too.
Yeah.
And then I hit it in practice.
And so Friday night that was a 29, right?
Yeah.
Okay. And so is that the longest this year?
Yeah.
The 29?
I had a 29 in the Kings Academy game too.
So both of them have been 29.
Yeah.
Okay. And you would have had another attempt, and then we had a false start. Was that?
Yeah, that was a.
Was that 2 weeks ago?
Yeah, that was the Bledsoe game.
That's right. So we almost got cracked on the scoreboard that night. So Eli, do you play any offense yet?
No.
But you will one day, right? Probably. So did you play it in middle school?
Yeah.
What was your position?
Guard.
Guard. All right. So which one's your favorite?
Probably left guard or.
What about? I mean, as far as like offense, defense. I think I know the answer to this.
Defense.
Because you can't get sacks as a guard.
Yeah.
Yeah. You're not. At least you shouldn't. Right. That's not what you're looking for. Right. So who's somebody? I asked Justin this question. Who's somebody on the team that has been like a mentor for you? Big brother welcomed you in and made you feel part of the family.
I said like Ben or something.
Ben Gilbert.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because he's been helping me where to go, what to do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He gets you in position, and he gets to get the tackle, right?
Yeah.
That's why he's got 100 and something of them. What about this year and Ben? Has that just been something to be a part of, to see him just dominate like that?
Yeah.
Did you expect it?
No.
Yeah. That's a fair answer. A lot of people said, yeah, I knew it was going to happen. It's a good answer, Eli. So now tell me, we got York this Friday night, and next year we're going to lose a lot of great senior leadership, a lot of guys that have won a lot of football games. Who is the senior you're going to miss the most? And I don't mean to put you on the spot, but, I mean, is there somebody that, man, when that guy's gone, it's going to hurt you to see them not be on that team anymore?
I say every senior because it's going to hurt us, like our feelings hurt and the team.
Yeah.
So it's going to hurt us dramatic. What?
I got you. All right, I got you. Justin, you got any particular person?
Caden Rector.
Yeah.
Definitely going to miss him. He's such like a team leader. He's a great player.
Yeah. Well, again,
everybody says that, so I'm getting the feeling Caden must be buying a lot of pizza or paying him money or something every week.
Yeah. I don't know, but we got a room full of Indians again this week, and so, I mean, whatever's going on locker room-wise, the way you guys hang together, you know, obviously your seniors have set a tone with that, and it'll be up to you guys to continue that on, and I think it's why you're sitting here with now 8 wins in this season. And a chance to go for another one. So congratulations on all you've accomplished in this year, and best of luck on Friday night, guys.
Thank you.
Yeah, I was actually going to point that out and because this is our last roundtable of football season. I was going to give a shout out to these kids from Oneida who have been here every single week, supporting whichever ones of their teammates have been sitting up here. And we saw that last year at Delray because they were all getting in there and slipping and putting their food on my bill before they got out the door, and I wouldn't catch it until they were gone. But hats off to these guys for showing up. So, you know, Tim talked about it already, the closeness in the locker room. What's that like? I mean, where does that come from, I guess, is what I'm asking.
I mean, I have no idea. It's just we all hang out a lot. Like, everybody hangs out. Everybody talks to each other. Everybody helps each other out. I mean, it's just like a bond we have.
Okay. Now, let me ask you, before you guys go, let me ask you this, because I asked Luke Barner this last year when he was on, and no? Okay. With that, no, I'm going to ask you anyway.
Ask it anyway.
Yeah. I don't know.
I don't know. He doesn't even know what I'm going to ask, but I am going to ask.
He acts like he does.
This is an unfair question because you're a kicker, and kickers don't get yelled at by their coach, and that's just an unspoken rule of football. You don't mess with the kicker's mind. But who yells at you more, Coach Jimmy May or Coach Derek Keaton?
Oh, Coach May.
Really?
Yeah, he tries to make me, like, really tough.
He does yell at his kicker?
Yes, a lot.
Huh.
A lot.
Well, that's unorthodox.
Does Coach Barner yell at you?
No, he's more, like, calm.
So it's good cop, bad cop with those two?
Yeah.
So just out of curiosity, what question did you think I was going for there?
Who do you like better, Derek Keaton or Coach May?
That's a good question. Who do you like better?
No, he asked you first.
Yeah.
You answer it, then he will.
I'm a Jimmy May fan. Just kidding, Derek.
Well.
Just kidding. All right, so our Trophy Masters lineman of the game, Eli Jordan Sexton, and our kicker of the game, Justin Lance. Thank you guys for joining us. Congratulations on that first-round playoff game, and go get York Go get York this week. We'll take a break. We've been jumping around like a bunch of jackrabbits up here. When we come back, we're going to jump back into basketball as we're joined by Lady Highlander head coach Jake Wright. Welcome back to the Roundtable on the IH Sports Network as we get set for hour number 2 alongside Rick Keaton and Tim Smith. I'm Ben Garrett. We're joined by Lady Highlander head coach Jake Wright. Let me say first that when Coach Marv West was on, we had a little bit of technical difficulty, and I think we lost part of that interview. So if you're watching at home and you're saying, what in the heck happened to Marv? Same thing happened to Rusty Yaden 2 weeks ago. We'll get that full interview up and online. And matter of fact, Greg will probably have it on his YouTube channel before I can get around to it. So either one way or another, it's going to be up and online. But Coach Wright, thank you for joining us.
Yes, sir.
We are hard to believe, just 10 days away for you guys from the start of the regular season.
Yes, sir.
So and I got to say, I got to ask you this first. Most coaches, you sit down and you talk about, well, you've only lost a couple of seniors. You got most of your team back, or you lost a lot of seniors. You know, what are you going to do? And as you look at Scott High's roster from last year, you lost 6 seniors. You lost Adeline Woodward and Brianne Jeffers and Riley Price and Jalen Young and Zoe Terry and I forget Caitlin Butts.
Yes, sir.
All those kids, most of them started at some point for you. All of them played varsity minutes last year, and yet, with no disrespect intended to any of those kids, this may be your best team. This is your 4th team.
Yes, sir.
Maybe your most talented team yet.
Yes, sir. I mean, coming from practice today, it was just kind of one of those things. I got to sit back after practice and just kind of smile a little bit because, we're so competitive from top to bottom. It's really nice to have a practice and be able to throw 15, 20 bodies out there and not drop off one bit and be able to compete and fight and scratch and claw. We return 5 all-district or all-region players this year. I'm excited. I'm ready for basketball. It's creeping up. We're going to play the toughest schedule we've played since I've been here. Starting off with White County and Van Buren, which is exciting for me.
In Sell Creek.
Yes, sir, in Sell Creek.
It's not like you're just playing White County. You're going to Sell Creek on a school night.
Yes, sir.
That was Rusty Yaden's doing, we should point out. Not sure I like that, Rick.
We've talked about that before, Ben. So, but you're a father. You've got 2 seniors. You've got to go to all those games.
Yes, sir.
I don't have to.
To his defense, we had people bail on us schedule-wise, and we just kind of had to fly around to find people to play. And I don't want to go play soft. I want to see what we got early often, and it's what a better way to test ourselves than White County and Van Buren.
Well, as we start this conversation, and I'll ask Rick and Tim just jump in whenever they want to, but to start off with, just talk about your kids. Start with your seniors, and then just go down the list. Whoever you want to mention individually that's going to contribute for you this year.
That's the great thing for us. Our seniors, Zoe Price, Gracie Lewis, Braylon Russ, Rachel Garrett, Julie Lawson, have all played a lot of basketball. And, I think they have a great opportunity to go out in a great way this year. And, they're great leaders. That's something they've really focused on, throughout practice. I always hear Zoe talking. And, Zoe's always chirping, trying to get us better energy, trying to get us to do it my way, which she loves to say. And, they're doing a great job. Melanie Spradlin coming off a knee injury. I think she's finally healthy for the first time in 2 years. So I'm excited to see healthy Mel and see what she can do. With those 6, they've done so much for our program, and not just on the court, but off the court. I looked at Rachel today. This is the first time in Rachel's career I've not had to throw her out there once she gets out of soccer and be like, hey, I need you to figure it out. I need to beat and bang and stuff like that. We've finally been able to let her rest a little bit after soccer, which I think has really helped her, and she's playing the best ball I've ever seen her. As she was leaving the locker room today, I said, Rachel, who are you? Where's this been? And it's an awesome thing, because I think she's finally healthy, finally feeling good, and it's because of the depth we have. It's allowed us to kind of rest her throughout practice. She doesn't have to take as many reps because she knows how I want it. She knows the way I want it, and I think that goes for all of them. The shooting abilities with Gracie and Braylon and Julie gives us something we've never had since I've been here, is the ability to spread the floor. And, it's really fun to see, because right now we're tinkering with so many different lineups. We got a big lineup, a small lineup. We got a 5-guard lineup. We can go 2 bigs. So, it's really fun. Going down to the juniors, it's a great class. We finally, knock on wood, got Connor Hudson healthy. So, Connor can finally see the floor, and she's doing a phenomenal job. She's a big that, can stretch the floor, can beat and bang inside, and, just make you pay. Brittany doing Brittany things. I think she's taken another step. She keeps getting better and better. Morgan Hooks has taken another step forward. Autumn Brummett has taken a step forward and getting Shaylin Ellis back, who is adding another guard to our rotation, a tough guard and a strong guard, and that's something exciting. Hannah Yancey, who might be the most improved kid I had. She didn't play her freshman year, came out last year. A 6'1" girl, and she's getting better and better every day, which is exciting for us. Our sophomores, Hope Duncan is another kid that Hope has made strides, and it's impressive to watch. Carly Branscom's taking over at the 1 for us right now and is doing a phenomenal job. She plays like her brother Dalton. She's tough-nosed. She'll stick her nose in there. She's not afraid to get beat around and stuff like that, and she'll keep playing. Keely Goodman, Alyssa Cron, Ariel Hudson are all doing phenomenal jobs, understanding how I want things done, keep competing every day and getting better. And this freshman class I got is the most pleased I've ever been with a freshman class, at the college level or at the high school level. Their mindset and their ability is phenomenal. Shaylee Ellis, Praley Carson, Autumn Bowen, J.C. Goodman, Callie Strunk, Aaliyah Jeffers, Danny Frazier, Emily Rowell, Jaslyn Van Hook, Kendall Gibson, and Lyriel Blevins. They all get it. They all understand it, and they've all really picked up quick on it. And, a lot of these kids are going to push for time already. As soon as they stepped in the building, they're already pushing my older kids because they want to. They want to compete, and they have the ability to compete.
You talked about the competition in practice, and that's something, having a kid on the team, that's something I hear every day. And she'll come in talking about, I'm scratched up and bruised up because this happened or that happened. And, of course, my first question, she's telling me that Brittany Morrow tried to block a shot and fell on her. And I said, what was your reaction? Because I'm thinking, oh, no. How'd that? She said, we laughed about it.
Oh, absolutely.
But they are pushing each other
absolutely.
really hard.
That's the great thing about it. Rachel gave her a great pump fake, and Brittany came flying out there about to send that thing about 15 rows up, and Rachel pulled it down. Next thing I know, we're on top of each other, and I'm like, oh my gosh! But the next thing I hear is laughing, and that's the great thing about this team. This team has really molded together and love each other, and they're playing for each other. And one thing that they understand is the goal. We have one team, one dream. We're here to hang banners. We want to change the mold of our school, of our program, and it starts with understanding one common goal, and that's to go win. And they've done a phenomenal job of that, and they compete every day like they want to win.
We're going to talk about that banner hanging here in just a minute. But I got to ask you, I know that you want to run. You want to get up and down the floor. You want to press people a little bit. And that's something you really haven't been able to do so far, but it looks like you finally got the depth to be able to do that.
Absolutely. Guard-wise, we have the depth to get after you 94 feet, which I love. I've been waiting for it for a long time. I thought this summer we were able to see, glimmer of it. Again, we played a heck of a game against Maryville. Should have beat Maryville this summer. And we were able to match Maryville 94 feet. And that's when I kind of finally started to realize we can do this. We can consistently do this. And that's another thing about this freshman class. This freshman class coming along just adds more bodies to the fire to be able to really get after people. And, we want to be 94 feet. We're going to meet you as soon as you inbound the ball. We're going to take it from you. We're going to shoot a layup. And that's something we really tried to mold. Last 3 years we've been kind of old-fashioned, sit back in that zone, play tough-nose defense, 15-foot jumper, let's knock it down, stuff like that. This year we're really focused on we want that open layup or that open three.
I don't mean to single out any kid beyond what you already have because there's so many different kids that are going to bring such different things to the table. But one issue, your team has played really good defense the last 3 years.
Yes, sir.
But it's always been a struggle to score the balls. Not always, but a lot of times. And so when you get into that track meet, it's hard to keep up sometimes if you can't slow them down defensively. I was watching Braylon Russ. She came in the summer, and she's a kid that can go out and knock down 3 straight three-pointers. If she gets hot, she can score points in a hurry. What does that bring to you from an offensive dimension?
Oh, absolutely. It just allows us, putting her opposite of Julie, it just allows us to spread the floor so much. And, for her, she can go get a bucket whenever she needs to, whenever we need her to. And, for me as a coach, I'm not here to red light kids. Listen, if you can score the ball, I need you to go score the ball. And she's a kid that can stop those, those little droughts that we had last year that would just kill us. They wouldn't be long droughts, but 1 or 2 minute droughts where, we'd give up 5 points and then we'd find ourselves down 10 or something like that. Braylon does a great job of being able to end those droughts real quick, especially the way with our ability to spread the floor now. We can go 5 out with Brittany running the 5 now and go really small, but still be extremely athletic and really good defensively because we're meeting you 94 feet now. So Braylon has brought an extra dimension to us offensively that has really helped us this summer.
Now, let's talk about those banners. You walk into Scott High's gym. Rick was calling these games back in the 80s and 90s when you had players there like Lisa Pace and Brandy Rogers, Brandy Brown then, and I don't Rick can name them a lot better than I could. But you had such a great run there during the Doug Sharp era. A lot of banners got hung, but it's been a while, and I don't even know how many years it's been. Rick would know.
97.
So there you go. I was going to say probably 25 years. So it's been 26 years. Will actually be 27 by the time you get to the end of this season.
Yes, sir.
This team looks like a team that can go compete for district championship.
Absolutely. And I don't want to ever hide them from that. They got to understand the standards have changed for us. We're not just going out there to compete and play hard like we were in the first couple of years, just trying to make the hustle plays and be that. No, we're expected to go win. And that's something I preach to them every day. You have to understand the expectation, not just for this program, but for this school. You have to be the leaders that set the tone for the rest of the school of how we're going to compete at every sport we have. And, I think that's something they've kind of accepted and taken as a challenge and are proud to be the bearers of that. And, every day they come in ready to go. We've not had a flat practice yet, which I, knock on wood, appreciate. A flat practice is the worst type of one. Just no energy and stuff like that. We bring the energy. We're all about it. We're getting after it. So I think if we can continue that for a whole year, I'm excited to see what we can do.
And as you look at the rest of the district, you stay in the same classification, but you do have changes. You lose Halls. You bring in 3 new teams. You've got a 16 district this year. You bring in Union County. You bring in Gibbs. You bring in Cumberland Gap.
Yes, sir.
And I know that when you get into the edge of that Knoxville metro area, a lot of times you never know from one year to the next who's going to transfer in, who's going to transfer out.
Yes, sir.
Just based on what everybody else had last season, though, I like how your team stacks up.
Yes, sir.
What do you know about the rest of the district?
You know, and like you said, we just really don't know until we start getting film on them and stuff like that. We don't know who transfers in, who's transferred out, who's just not playing anymore. You know, just so many variables in there. For us, you know, the girls, we've been watching film on Van Buren already. We got film from last year. You know, that's a semifinalist team. You know, they did a wonderful job last year. So we're focused on that White County, that Van Buren day. You know, we're just going to go one game at a time. Just really try to focus in. You know, they got the standard. My girls know if they go win those first 2 games, we'll charter to the next one, and we'll charter the rest of the year if we have to. So you know, we're trying to entice them a little bit with stuff like that, and you know, it'll be a really solid district this year. It's all well coached. We got some great players in it. You know, Union County's got probably one of the better guards we'll see all year. That we'll see, number 23. She spreads the floor. You know, can shoot from deep, attacks the rim well. You know, Anderson County's going to be really well coached. Clinton's going to be really well coached. They return a lot of talent from last year. You know, it's just going to be a really solid district, which we're excited to compete in.
Would it be fair to say that if you ask most folks inside Scott County, you expect to say Scott High is going to win the district?
Yes, sir.
Outside Scott County. And I think the way Tim asked this is, if you look at the rest of the district, how would you rank them if you excluded yourself? Would it be fair to say, though, that Union County probably would be most folks' pick?
Union or Clinton probably. They'd be up there. They've both done a phenomenal job. Both got a lot of talent returning. You know, I don't want to ever sleep on anybody else. Gibbs has the potential. Anderson County has all the potential in the world. You know, the rest of them are Cumberland Gap. You know, last year seeing Cumberland Gap, they were the most impressive looking team I had seen all year, and we barely scraped out with a win at home. You know, and I think a lot of them were just sophomores and juniors. So, you know, I think this is going to be a fun district to watch throughout the year. I think it's going to be a lot of up and down competition, just trying to steal wins every day.
Over the last few weeks, when the team goes down and they get in the weight room, what is really impressive is not what they do in the weight room. I don't go and do that. But it's when they come out and head back up to the gym. I've tried to count them one day, and I lost track, and maybe 50 of them coming out of there. You just got so many players on the team this year that bodes well this year and next year and the next year and the next year because you finally got a number of representatives in each class.
Absolutely.
And I think that's very big. I want to ask you, in your own words, tell me the strengths and the weaknesses of this team.
You know, our strength, I think, is our depth and our ability to change lineups, our ability to go big or small and all that stuff. You know, another strength is, I think, just our willingness and our competition level. I think we have a passion, and I've seen a passion in our girls I've never seen before. We got a fire every day that it's as a coach, it makes me happy. It's just so awesome to see that little passion in them. They go compete with each other. They go at each other. You know, weakness-wise, you know, I think we got to prove we can shoot the ball. I really think until we do it in game, that's going to be the weakness. But I think we have the ability to really turn that into a strength this year by the end of it. But right now, that's always going to be the weakness, being able to score the ball. But I think we got some ability now to really take some games over offensively.
And so that's the great big opportunity.
Yes, sir.
Ahead for these young ladies.
Yes, sir.
And it will be a challenging schedule, so
Absolutely.
Everybody, whether it's home or on the road, everybody has to come out every night and be prepared to play. But it's the best depth that you've ever had.
Yes,
and is it fair to say the healthiest team that you've ever had?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Knock on wood.
I'll do that too.
Absolutely. You know, I think we're finally getting to the point where we're just, you know, for one, it's for our older kids, we know what they can do. You know, I take my dad's philosophy on a lot of things, but one of those things is, you know what they can do, don't make them prove it every day. And, you know, he was a firm believer in football with that strategy because, you know, you're not going to make your guys tackle every day. Well, for my kids, I'm not going to make them try to prove themselves every day as hard as they can, going at each other and getting people hurt when I know exactly what we can do. And, you know, that's one thing, like with Rachel and stuff like that, you know, with her coming from soccer, you know, every year it's been some hip issues, stuff like that. Mm-hmm. Well, this year we've kind of been able to back it off with her. Hey, I need you to learn this stuff. I need you to, you know, get your shots up, get your conditioning in, stuff like that. But her having to go out there and beat and bang every day, she's not had to do that to, you know, a degree as much as she had before. And now she's the healthiest she's ever been with me. So, you know, I think just, you know, I understand what my team can do. Now, we're finally got to the point where we're a little bit healthy and we're ready to go, and we're excited to go prove some things.
No, nothing against Coach Aiden. If he was here, I'd tell him the same thing. I was talking with a friend today. He said, well, where are we going on the tournament schedules in you know, when we get into December there? And I said, well, you know, where I've sort of always wanted to follow the boys, I said it may be going to girls' games this year. It's, you know, because I just believe the excitement level is way up.
Absolutely.
I think the basketball IQ is way up.
Yes, sir.
I think the desire for this bunch to go out and prove to the other teams, I think it's way up. So I see a great positive on your squad this year.
Yes, sir. You know, we're excited, you know, and for me, it's begging and asking everybody, please come watch them. Please, because they're such a special group. We're so very proud of them. Please, everybody, fill that Highlander gym up and come watch these kids. Come down to Saudi Daisy over Christmas. You know, we're going to play a phenomenal schedule down in Saudi. You know, that's kind of the basketball haven in Tennessee right now with Bradley Central down there and all them, the Barretts and stuff like that. I mean, that's phenomenal girls basketball down there. So.
You're really familiar with that area.
Absolutely. You know, I've recruited a lot of it for a long time, you know, being at Bryan and being at Cleveland State. But, you know, for me, it's nice to go home. You know, I was talking to my old head coach at Bryan the other day, and she's like, hey, we'll be down there in Saudi for Christmas tournament. He's like, okay, I'll be there. We'll bring the girls' coach. We'll come watch. And I said, I mean, that's it. For me, there's nothing better. You know, go play phenomenal competition. Go have college coaches in the stands for them and stuff like that. It's nothing better.
Right.
You have talked about the enthusiasm. Your team, Rick's talked about the enthusiasm. That's something you worked hard at. When you got this program, got this job 4 years ago, it was a bunch of girls that, quite frankly, had been beat down by the community, telling them they couldn't win and all this. But you invested really heavily into bringing energy. And as I think back to that first year that you were on the job, there were teams that came into your place that should have probably beat you with a running clock, and you were able to keep it close. That's not to say you won all those games, but your girls brought such an attitude and such an energy that reflected what you were trying to get them to understand.
Absolutely.
Has it finally gotten to the point to where you don't have to coach that so much anymore?
You know, I think for me, I'm always going to preach that stuff because it's ingrained in me. You know, I always want to do the things I love with as much passion and enthusiasm as I can, and I want my kids, you know, it's something I tell them all the time, meet and exceed my intensity. I want you all to find a different level than me. I want you all to go out there with a different mindset that nobody has got. Even me, be a better me out there. And you know, I don't think I have to coach it as much because they understand me. They know me. They know what I want. They know how I want it done. And you know, this group's got a little swagger to them, which I've waited a long time to see them have, because, you know, it was something, you know, with a couple of our girls, their shots are not falling right now. Guys, I'm not worried about it. You know, we're still, you know, a ways away. We're going to find it. So I just took one of them out there right in the middle of Coach Aiden's practice. Hopefully he's not too mad at me. I stood her right in front of the rim, and I said, shoot one. She makes it. And I said, you're good. You saw one go in. Now do it every day. And, you know, for me, it's all about confidence. And I want them to understand this staff and my staff, and it's a phenomenal staff who I love tremendously, and I think they do a phenomenal job every day. These young ladies, we got more confidence in them young ladies than anybody in this country. We believe in this team more than any other coaching staff believes in their team. I guarantee that.
Mention your coaching staff, your assistant coaches.
Yes, you know, we got Grant Markham, Emily Markham, Serena Cross, and John Hayden Strunk, who are doing phenomenal jobs. It's nice for me to be able, and Billy Hall when he can make it.
He's got as many coaches as he does players.
Absolutely.
Almost.
You know, with that, I take the college aspect of it, and too, you know, you know, the more coaches you have, the better coaches you have, the better practices you have. And, you know, it's so awesome when I'm able to bounce around practice, go to every group, because I know my coaches are doing exactly what I want, how I want it done, and I get to see everybody now instead of me having to take a group down there and get it done. You know, I have the ability to trust my coaches to get their job done, and I'm proud of them.
Can I say just something real quick? So last week we had, was it Gus that was sitting here last week?
Yeah.
And what was the other young man's name across the way that was your player of the game against Austin East? Sophomore, I think he was.
I've slept since then, Rick.
Well,
anyway,
he had to come to it before they even.
Well,
so Mason Llewellyn, I think, was here.
Yeah.
Mason,
Okay.
So
all right. So
yeah.
sorry,
Yes,
I'm distracted. But my point is this: so the excitement in the youth, there, excitement in things, and you look at this football team that this close to being a 4-win team this year.
Yes, sir.
And the excitement that you guys brought to that, and the competition and the competitiveness that was there, and there's these good things that happen, and then there's things that happen that feel like setbacks.
Yes, sir.
And those are going to happen along the way, but it just feels like the arrow trending, like you just mentioned. You're on the big picture, almost like an athletic director. You're talking about football, you're talking about banners, you're talking about the boys team, the girls team, and getting things moved in a direction where everybody's out and supporting and getting behind. Things are going well.
Yes, sir.
And things are on the upswing all around on these programs.
Yes, sir.
And getting people out to support it. Like your Coonskin Crazies is already one of the best student sections in the state. There's no doubt about that. And I mean, it's just nice to see, and the kids are fortunate to have coaches that are investing, and despite when the setbacks happen, you're finding a way to get past those, and say, that's going to happen. Those bumps happen along the way. We're building something.
Yes, sir.
And that's what it feels like you guys are doing through all these programs, is that you're building something that people need to get on board with, because pretty soon somebody's going to be, you're going to have people jumping on when it all gets good.
Yes,
and
sir.
so people right now is the time to say, I was there when. Because that seems to be where these things are heading.
Yes, sir.
And I just wanted to throw that in and say
there's a word for that, Tim.
Yes, sir.
Sustainability.
Yes, sir. It's exciting.
And that's something I really want to preach to everybody, is we're for each other. I think it's a great time to be a Highlander. I think it's a great time to invest in our school and our programs, and not just athletically, academically. We got phenomenal teachers that do a great job every day. It's awesome for me to walk around the school and see them teaching their rear ends off every day and making our kids better. I can't tell you, I got a couple of football players right there, how proud I am of every kid in our building. Just every day, just relentlessly coming to work, taking care of their business. The jumps that football team has made has been phenomenal, and they remind me so much of my first couple of years with the girls. Take a couple steps here and then get hit in the mouth, come back, and we'll just do it again. And that's something that I think for our school we've done such a good, and Coach Hamby, Coach Hall, and all of them have done such a good job with, is putting people in place that see the bigger picture and see how phenomenal our school is. Not just academically and athletically, just overall. And I think it's a real great time to be a Highlander.
These guys like Alton Lau, he's not going to see the payoff because he's graduating.
Whaley.
But he's going to be on the fence watching it happen, and he was a part of what made it happen.
Yes, sir. For me, I think about Callie, Julie Llewellyn, Elena Duncan, all those young ladies that really set the tone those first couple years for us, that battled through so much, like you were talking earlier, being just kind of beat down the whole time. And to see that success, that little success they had, but for them to come back and see our girls now just at a whole different level because of everything they sacrificed. And it's just, for me as a coach, I will always be so thankful for them.
So one last question. As you were going through your coaches, 5 coaches I think you've got helping you, one name you did not mention was old Coach Wright. You still have him drop in from time to time, right? And for reference,
he's on the road scout.
To put that into perspective, your girls don't call you guys, Coach Robert Wright and Coach Jake Wright, it's old Coach Wright and young Coach Wright.
Yes, sir.
I'm not sure how old Coach Wright appreciates that, but I mean that's an invaluable opportunity.
Absolutely. You know, I'm so very blessed with my mom and dad. You know, they're so involved with everything we do. You know, Dad they got back from the beach after spending a month at the beach last week, and you know, the first day back, Dad's bringing popsicles to practice. You know, my girls understand how much they are loved. Every second they're in the gym, they know they're loved, and by amazing people like my dad.
And when he says something, Coach Wright, when he says something to compliment one of those kids, it absolutely makes their day.
Yes, sir.
You know.
Yes, sir.
All right, Coach Jake Wright, good luck as you start the season. One thing about it, you're not going to have to wait very long to know what you got.
Yes, sir.
Going up against White County and Van Buren County down at Sell Creek next Thursday night.
Yes, sir.
All right, we've kept Scott High Wrestling waiting long enough, so we'll take a quick break. When we come back, we'll close out things with Scott High's first ever wrestling team. Welcome back to the Roundtable on the IH Sports Network. Our final segment tonight. We are live from the C. Michael Lay Technology Center in Helenwood alongside Rick Keaton. I'm Ben Garrett. If you're wondering where Tim Smith went, it's past his bedtime. You may or may not know, Rick knows, and Mark Matthews and that whole crew knows, Tim goes to bed with the chickens. And it's hard.
Well, with the time change, he's way out of whack now.
It's hard on him, you know. And I'm not making this up. When they have a game that's on a school night, he works at TCAT, so work night, school night, whatever, he has to take off the next day to recover. So anyway, he went home to go to bed. But who we do have with us are the important ones, and that is Scott High Wrestling coach Jason Jeffers. I almost called you Jason Terry. I'm sorry. If I do that by mistake, I apologize. And we've also got Ezra Terry and Bo Laxton. And Bo, you're a junior? Sophomore. You're a sophomore. Ezra? Junior. All right. So, Jason, first of all, why did you pick these guys? You've got a dozen or so wrestlers that are going to start this season. What makes these guys stand out?
Yeah, we're looking around about 14 or 15 different wrestlers. These every one of our guys, and we've got Gunnar Smith with us in the audience and Mason Akers as well. It's kind of like having a small classroom. You know, every attribute that your students have, and each one of our athletes that we have on our wrestling team, they all bring unique things to the table. These two guys here, from the first minute I met Bo, it was actually in the gym at Scott High, I believe. Bo approached me after an event out there and said, "Hey, I want to wrestle." So I drug him back to the Commons area, which is what we call our cafeteria. I don't think a lot of folks use that terminology. They call it the caf or the cafeteria. We always call it the Commons area, of course. But I said, "Bo, get your phone out and scan that QR code and fill it out." So he's just been super cooperative from the get-go. And I'll let Bo here in a little bit talk about where he's from and some of his experiences with wrestling and kind of why it intrigues him and interests him so much. But he's just been forthright. He's that kind of young man. His parents are to have a lot of credit for that. He's got two good parents. They love him dearly. And I've met both those folks out in the community and spoke to them. And he's just a real forthright young man. He has done everything he's told me he would do. And that is a trait that many adults envy. A lot of folks can't follow through on their word, but that's Bo Laxton in a nutshell. Now, on top of that, he's a tremendous athlete and is able to get a lot of playing time on our football team as a sophomore. So he's got great things ahead of him. And as far as Ezra goes, of course, I know Ezra's dad. We graduated high school together, the great class of 1985. We're getting old.
You are getting old.
Yeah, well, I know. We're up there. Most of us are late 40s now. But
oh, my gosh.
I know.
My heart's bleeding for you, Jason.
I know. I'm talking about being older, but all these real old people, Ben, they've got aches older than I am. So, you know. But Ezra is the epitome of a good teammate. He really is. He's good for the coach. He's good for the other wrestlers. He's athletically very gifted, and you guys will see that as our season unfolds. I think he weighs around 145, 150 pounds, somewhere in there. Super athletic. Got a very, very low body fat percentage, and you wouldn't think that. But I like Ezra. He's a lot like a lot of our guys running around Scott County. He probably drove a 3/4-ton dump truck tonight to the event, and I kind of like that because I'll drive my 3/4-ton dump truck around sometimes as well. But aside from being athletically gifted and very highly interested in the sport of wrestling, he's just a great teammate. He really is. I watch him mentor these young guys, and just today in the hallway, we're shy of 3 weight classes. It's hard to get big guys in high school. They just don't make them that big. 285-pound high school kid, that's a pretty good-sized kid. So the 285, the 215, the 190s, those are hard spots to fill. And Ezra's the kind of guy that's out there actively recruiting in the hallways and talking to these kids. And, we want to encourage them. It's not too late to come out for wrestling. We're filling, 10 to 11 of our weight classes, which is very good. Most high schools, they have trouble filling those heavyweight classes, and they have trouble filling those lightweight classes as well. So we've done real well. We've got a home run punch for the first 3 weight classes. I told the guys at practice today, I said, guys, our 3 lightweights, our 106, 113, and 120, they're kind of like the snapper, the holder, and the kicker. They kind of do their own thing, And, Ezra's been a big part of that. He's been a big part of bringing these guys in. So.
All right, now we're going to get back to you and talk about where the program stands versus when you were here last in just a minute.
Wow.
Start with you guys. Bo, Coach Terry talked. I did it. I knew I would do it. I knew it. I'm
you
sorry.
Want me to hex him?
Whatever you'd like to do.
I'm just going to say Jason.
Yep.
Jason said that you came to him and sought him out and said you wanted to wrestle. Why? And did you have experience with wrestling before this?
So I lived in Iowa. The place I lived in was they wrestled a lot, and they were really good.
They're
team.
one of the top wrestling states in the country.
So where I was from, football was all right, basketball was all right, but the wrestling team, it was real good. I had a good coach there. I started in 6th grade, wrestled through 7th, and I just really enjoy it.
So you got something that I would not have thought that you would have in season number 1. You got some experience.
Yeah, as I said, this time last year, wrestling season was getting ready to get kicked off, and I've been watching high school wrestling in East Tennessee for 14 years now. I'll get to watch it a lot closer this season, which has been something I've been passionate about for many years. But, this is no surprise to me, and this is no surprise to a lot of the teachers at Scott High School. Every year we have someone in our school that has a connection to wrestling in some way, shape, or form. And I think back to a lot of athletes through the years that have kind of come and went, and many of them, they approached me. I taught many years in room 200, taught about 6 years in room 302, and I remember many students coming to me and say, hey, Coach, I hear you might be interested in starting a wrestling program. They sent me to you to talk to you about that. And as I said last year, and I think it was very much a foundational statement, the difference is yesterday we didn't have a team, and today we do. Mm-hmm. And when I started hearing about guys like Mason Akers and Bo and some of these guys that had wrestling experience before, I'd done that with a great deal of confidence. I was able to listen to them and these students for the first time and say, you know what, we do have a team now. And we do start practice on this date, and we're excited about it. So, yeah, that's not a surprise to me, but I certainly am thankful for guys who've got some experience and what they bring to the table. And like Bo said, in other states, you go north of Lexington, wrestling's a huge deal. It's a big deal for sure. Basketball obviously is too, and we know football is a very, very popular sport. Of course, I coached football and played football. Rick knows he called just, I guess, every game that we ever played in as we went through school. So I enjoy football. I'm a sports guy. I really am. And coached football at many different levels through the years. Never did spend a lot of long-term years coaching football. They're just so busy, so much stuff going on behind the scenes. And I'm asked nearly every year to come help coach football somewhere. Had the opportunity a few years ago, Danny Oakes up at Jellicoe High School, he called me 2 days before school started and said, hey, Coach, we want you to come up here and be our defensive coordinator. And it just didn't work out. But in reality, living in a place like Scott County, typically when we get off work, we go home and work. Right. We go home, mow our grass, and do whatever needs to be done there. So when my grass is growing, I don't have time to do anything else. So winter sports, for me, they fit my lifestyle really, really well. They really do. So I've got plenty of time now. I say bring on the frost, bring on the winter, the snow, and we'll hop in there and do some wrestling this year.
I can't believe you would talk about not having time. Teaching, preaching, associate pastor.
With his own kids, and it's just
tax service.
Yeah.
I'm not even going to try to do it. You got the farm up there to kind of.
Yeah, we do. We do a lot of things. I've got a lot of good help behind the scenes. My wife is home tonight, and I probably send her 20 text messages a day. Hey, send this message out, send that message out, take care of this, take care of that. And I've learned those things through the years. I've got good people around me at our church, good friends that I've had for many years, and I asked them, how do you manage this and how do you do that? And they give really good advice. And I've got a lot of confidence in the people that are around me. And it's not super difficult. It's just hard to find the time to do those things. And being, as you know, all the things that you're involved in, there's a lot of late nights and a lot of early mornings. And a good friend of mine, Jordan Jeffers, and I do consider him a good friend, he told me, he said, Jason, it's a labor of love. And he told me that just 2 or 3 weeks ago through text message. And it's true. It is a labor of love. I'm just about 8 years from early retirement, and I would like to do that. I really would. And as we get into this wrestling program, I'm excited to see what it's going to do in years to come. And hopefully I've left the school, as Jake said, it's a very exciting time to be at Scott High School. We've got some good people in place. We've got some exciting things going on. And the opportunity awaits the student body if they'll take advantage of it.
So, Bo, with the experience that you have, how have you been able to use that to kind of help mentor some of these other guys along that are part of the program?
Well, we got a lot of good talent on the team. Ezra, he's real fast, quick, strong. But we got a lot of talent, and you can use that help provide the skill for a lot of the players we need.
So, and wrestling is not your first sport at Scott High. Jason already mentioned that you play football as well.
Yeah, I do.
So, coming in brand new to probably didn't know a lot of these guys very well this year. How have you kind of adapted and been? How these guys have welcomed you in, obviously.
Yes.
How?
Well, I'm easy to get along with. Just easier to talk to. Just kind of get along with.
I want to ask Ezra, what or who pulled you into wrestling?
Well, I got family in Indiana. They love to wrestle. And my uncle, every time I went up there for Christmas, Thanksgiving or something, he'd always tell me stories about him wrestling, high school, everything. And he actually had a scholarship for wrestling, but he didn't take it. He wanted to work instead. But he would show me moves and everything. I always thought it was so unique. I mean, I fell in love with it just from the stories I heard about it.
So you guys, with your experience, you make the coaching easy for Coach Jeffers here. I mean, you probably have more knowledge than he does of the sport.
Probably so.
I mean, I'm not dissing you in any way, but I'm saying.
Absolutely. It's interesting. Bo doesn't realize, what he brings to the table, and Mason and some of these guys that have been with us. We started doing 2 days a week back in September. Wrestling has a lot less restrictions in the state of Tennessee than other sports do. If you look at the sports calendar, it literally says preseason, no restrictions. Scrimmages, no restrictions. So we have a lot of flexibility there. So we started going back in September, and anyone who's not seen the sport before, they have a hard time following everything that's going on because, I mean, for just one example, there's 3 positions you can score in wrestling, whereas basketball or football, which what we're very, very accustomed to, you're either on offense or defense, and you're typically trying to score your points on offense. With wrestling, you can score in the offensive or the up position, the neutral position, or the down position. You can score in any of the positions, and there's so many moves and techniques that are involved in that. And that's what guys like Bo and Mason, some of these guys that's been with us since September, when we bring these new guys on, they're able to show them what a takedown is, what a single is, things, the lingo that is associated with wrestling. And it is truly its own language, when you start looking at it. We'll be on display Thursday at Birchfield School, as we talked about earlier, and we'll get our first taste of some action, I guess you could say.
Do you excuse me, Ben? I'm curious about this stuff. This new sport, I'm going to like it. I know I am. So you've got, of the 12 to 15 members that you have on the team, so you're able to fill all these different weight classes. Or any of the wrestlers that's going to compete in that you'll have 2 or more wrestlers competing in a single weight class?
Yeah, we've got if I understand your question right, we've got most of our weight classes. We've got 1 wrestler per weight class. Some of our weight classes we have multiple, up to 2 wrestlers. Right. And 5 years from now, we'll be 2 and 3 deep in those areas. Is the idea and the plan. And typically, like Ezra, he's an 11th grader. Obviously, he's physically mature. He's athletic. He works. outside of school. When he gets out of school, he goes and works, So he's one of these corn-fed country boys that we talk about around here, And obviously, 17-year-old, 11th grader, you're much more physically mature than a 9th grader, although you might weigh the same.
Right.
Okay,
right.
So, yeah, you'll have multiple kids in each weight class. So when we have, there's different types of meets that you have. We call them duals or tries or quads, and everything we'll host at Scott High is called a quad event, and there'll be 4 teams there. So essentially, you'll get 2 matches that night,
right.
And you have a varsity wrestler and a JV wrestler,
and they can actually, during the season, they can actually go compete on club teams.
What happens is when the regular season starts, which is it's parallels basketball. So this year, I guess it was October 30th was the official first day of practice. So when we start practicing high school wrestling, that's sanctioned by TSSAA. When the high school season starts, your wrestler is your wrestler. He's not going to compete on anything else.
Okay.
However, every Saturday there are open tournaments that they can go and participate in. They can go and register and pay their fees and go and wrestle. But like USA Wrestling or AAU Wrestling, which is I think Mason's got some experience in that. Those are things that are typically going to take place in our off season,
right.
and literally, quite literally, the last Saturday in February, the high school athletes, their season will end at the state championship, and the next Monday they're back to club wrestling. So, and a lot of them, like we do folk style wrestling, which is what high school wrestling is, and college wrestling. College has a little bit different scoring. There's some things that they pay more attention to than they do in high school. But there's other things, too. There's freestyle wrestling and there's Greco-Roman wrestling, which are similar, but honestly they're totally different. It's kind of like rugby and football.
Right.
They're similar, but they're different. So a lot of your high school kids will leave folk style and they'll go into Greco-Roman. And it's interesting because Greco-Roman is all upper body. You can't touch anything below the waist. So they'll go into that type of sport, that type of wrestling, and they'll learn so many more moves and so many more techniques that they can then bring back to the high school side of it.
So Thursday night, you mentioned the scrimmage you're going to have at Birchfield School. It starts at 5 o'clock. You're going to have McCreary Central, and you're going to have York Institute there. For a lot of folks who might consider going out and seeing this, it's going to be brand new for me. I'm one of those people. I've never watched a high school wrestling match or a college wrestling match. What can people like me expect Thursday night?
So what would they expect, Bo? Tell us.
It'll be extremely interesting for people who've really never experienced wrestling. It's really fun. I know Mason used to go to McQuarrie, so I've already heard all about the people I should be wrestling.
You outed him right here in front of everybody.
Yeah.
That's unfair. So we won't hold it against you, being from McCreary County.
Ezra, what's it going to be like Thursday?
Competitive.
Be very competitive.
Yeah.
It's interesting because, as Rick pointed out last February, I think it was when we came up here, how the speed of the match. It's very fast paced. You'll switch from the offensive position to the defensive position to the neutral position, all while scoring points within 30, 40, 50 seconds, So it's very fast-paced, and that's one thing a lot of folks struggle with, keeping up with the match, what's going on, who has control. For example, if I have control of Bo and I've already scored a 2-point takedown and Bo almost escapes from me, but I grab Bo and I slam him to the mat, which is a very dramatic move, you would think that I just scored points, but there's no points scored there because I had control of Bo the whole time. Even though it's a huge dramatic event that I slammed him to the mat, I never lost control of him, so I don't get any more takedown points. So there's some technical things like that, but it'll be very exciting, as Ezra said, very competitive, and it should be very revealing. I know a little bit about York. Donnie Bradford's a great man. He was an assistant there last year, and he's taken the program over this year. And McCreary County's had a program for many, many decades now. Gary Perriman is back up there coaching. He was at Somerset last year, and he's back at McCreary County coaching. So they've got a rich history with their wrestling program up there. And, they'll bring a lot to the table. I think McCreary County's had some success in football this year. Certainly York has had some success and will continue to have some success. So it'll be competitive. York's a second-year program. Once I realized last year we would be getting our own program, I followed York around, and I took notes, and I talked to their parents, and I talked to their coaches, and I talked to their wrestlers, and I said, hey, what's going on? What's it like? What would you change? What are you overwhelmed with? So that's what I did for about 4 months last year, is follow those guys around and talk to them. And so we've got a good relationship there, but I'm very excited to see what we bring to the table. We've had some very good practices the last 4 or 5 sessions we've had, and I think we're going to find some success. I think we'll be very pleased with what we put on the mat Thursday.
Ezra, who are some teammates that you'd like to shout out right now that you think, and Bo for that matter, who are some teammates other than Mason, said Mac, who are some other teammates that we should expect to see do well?
Caden Moffitt. Whenever he gets down on that down position, he is so quick on his feet. He can get them escape points like nothing. I mean, it's unbelievable how fast he is.
Right.
Yeah.
That's good. Who would you think?
I'd say Caleb Mize. He's real tall, he's skinny, but he's got real long reach, and he is really hard to tire out. We'll spar, and we'll go forever, and it'll take me forever to get him down. He's overall a solid wrestler.
Yeah, Caleb, there's different styles, different techniques you can use within a wrestling match, and Caleb has such good endurance, and he's very good on what we call the mat. Now, someone like Bo that's a little bigger, a little more muscular, he's going to try to use his strength and his height to his advantage and do a lot of takedowns and things like that. And he's a very technical wrestler, too. He understands where to put his hands and kind of what to expect from his opponent, and he's very good in the up position. And he'll use his strength and his muscle to get you flat on the mat. Of course, the major objective, the major goal in wrestling is to pin your opponent. Right. So if you watch MMA or UFC fights or something like that, that's typically a submission-type sport. High school wrestling, the objective is to pin your opponent. And you could be losing your match 10-0, 12-0, 6-9, whatever, and you pin your opponent, you win. So it's over with at that moment. What Caleb brings to the table, and we've talked about this in practice, he's got very good endurance. He's very good on the mat, and that's exciting because, in a football game or a basketball game, if you get down by a couple touchdowns, or maybe your most important player fouls out of the game or something like that, you've got to put him on the bench after a few fouls. You kind of get down, and that kind of happens when your wrestler gets on the mat because they're in a very vulnerable position when they're on the mat. But kids like Caleb, what they bring to the table, they're very good on the mat. So he's very comfortable being on the mat. He really likes that. As Bo said, he's long, and, that's important in wrestling because you can literally outreach the guy. Caden's a very tough wrestler, too. Right. A very tough wrestler for sure.
You just mentioned that about whether it be football or basketball. You still may have a whole quarter, which can be another 12 minutes of sport to go there. But in wrestling, you don't have a whole lot of time. If you're down by 6 points, 8 points, 10 points, you don't have a whole lot of time because there's explain that to us. There's 3 rounds, 2 minutes each, I think, per event.
Yeah, we call them periods. They're three 2-minute periods. Quite literally, I've seen Ezra pin kids in 12 seconds. 12 seconds into the opening whistle, he's got them in a takedown. He's got them on their back and they're pinned, so it can go that quickly. What'll happen is, certain kids they wrestle for points. They don't have a lot of great technique when it comes to pinning you. They don't have the strength to pin you. So they'll get you on the mat and they'll get back points. So back points, when you see a referee counting, they'll count up to 5. So 2 seconds get you 2 points. 5 seconds get you how many? 3 points. Ezra knows. Okay, he's got a little hand injury he's working on over here. But yeah, 5 seconds gets you 3 points. So you'll get those back points. And in reality, what you like to do is roll the guy on over and get both of his back muscles, his clavicles, I guess they're called, on the back, and then for 2 seconds. And the ref doesn't count those. He actually visually looks those 1, 2 in his head, and then you're pinned. But if you can't pin the guy, you'll roll the guy back over to his stomach for a second or two, maybe even get some ride time on him when that guy's try to do it again, get you points. So, very technical wrestlers. If you're scoring, if you're 15-0, a 15-point advantage, 16-1, 17-2, you win the match. If you're up by 15, it's called a technical fall, and you win the match. But yeah, it's one of those sports where you can be down and you can be up. But until that whistle sounds and it's over with, you could be pinned or do the pinning at any time.
If I say to you, Bo, Dan Gable, what does that mean?
Dan Gable?
Dan Gable, yeah.
He's a famous wrestler.
From your state, I believe. I thought sure you would know. It coming from Iowa that way.
Ezra, what's the attitude like at school with the new sport starting up? Folks Scott High, the students get into football, to get into basketball. What's it been like for wrestling? People talking about it yet?
Yeah, it's I feel like it's more anxious than anything.
Yeah, so you think that first home match down the road, which is going to be a while, you think the students are going to turn out for that?
I mean, I got people coming up to me 24/7 asking when it is, where it's at, if it's in the new gym or old gym at Birchfield.
Yeah.
I mean, they're investing in it too.
Cool.
I feel like there's going to be more people coming on board after the scrimmage.
So, and I got one more question for you in a minute. But what is there some subjectiveness in wrestling? Do you have the opportunity as a spectator? Do you have the opportunity to maybe heckle the referees a little bit? Because that's the fun part for me sometimes.
Yeah, I'd say, kind of nagging at them kind of makes it a little funner, kind of.
Yeah.
If you see Ben Garrett in the stands at one of your wrestling matches,
shut up, Greg.
I'm okay. I'm just trying to give them an advantage. I don't want them to lose points, get points taken away from them because.
No, they don't take points away from you. They just fine the school $250.
So wrestling's very, as you guys said, we're just, like I said, a few days away from a scrimmage, and it will be a lot like practice. That's kind of what the state tells us. It should look more like practice than a match, but there's a lot of gray area there. Some teams are pretty far down the road, and their practices look like a major event. So, and I think with York and McQuarrie County and us, I know that we've taken this serious from day one. I've had a lot of conversations with a lot of different students. As you guys know, and Ezra too, I want to mention him. He's one of the guys that I had to borrow $180 off my wife's Scholars Bowl team to pay for our bus to go up to Lincoln Memorial University back in, I guess, January, February, March, sometime in there. Ezra's one of the guys that we took up there, so that's the kind of guys you want wrestling. You want guys that are committed. They're sold out to it. It's what they do. They're committed to it, and that's how you build a program. You got to have the right people in the right place that are committed to it. But we've got a lot of guys like that. I've had a lot of conversation with a lot of different students, and some of them are in, some of them are out, some of them are not sure. So there's some anxiety there and some anxiousness about kind of what's going on there. But, 2 weeks from tomorrow, we're traveling to McQuarrie County for our first match ever. The Thursday after that, which is the 30th, we're going to Union County, all right? And I think our first home match is probably 5 or 6 matches in, but that's really only the third week of the season because we play so many matches. So that'll be a big event, December the 15th. So I want to invite everybody in Scott County out to our scrimmage. Special thanks to Birchfield School and Miss Brooks up there, me and Emily. Again, the great class of 1985. Me and Emily graduated high school together. So I went up, and of course we have a gym situation at Scott High. We've got 3 sports now, or 3 teams now, basically wrestling and 2 basketball teams. And gym space is tough for sure. And you probably don't like your daughter getting home at 9 o'clock at night because they get off practice or whatever. So there was no way I was going to go to Coach Yaden or Coach Wright and say, hey, boys, I got a scrimmage schedule. Would you give me the gym that night? I wouldn't even think about doing that. So I went to Emily up at Birchfield and said, hey, here's what I got going on. You got any room? And she said, absolutely, without question. She'll take care of it. So they've been really good to us up there, as has everyone. Special thanks to all these folks.
You've mentioned the class of 1985 twice.
1995.
Yeah, I was okay when you did it to yourself, but I wasn't going to let you throw Emily under the bus that way.
Sorry,
because,
yeah.
1985 is the year that Tony Lambert graduated, and he looks way older than
Tony
you.
Lambert graduated high school?
Well, he
There's
claims
a
to
rumor
have.
out there.
So, Ezra, my last question for you is going to be, did you really drive a dump truck here today?
No, I drove old 1992 Dodge Dakota.
All right.
Oh, yeah.
All right. Good deal.
But he does sometimes pull into practice with the red ton truck.
Yeah,
for sure.
Let me say this right now. A lot of work by the young men on the wrestling program to get it going. And a lot of credit goes to Jason Jeffers right here. It's not easy to start a brand new sport at a school. I mean, you've got to worry about, the equipment. You've got to worry about the singlets. That what are we going to wear? Getting the mats, getting the advertising, raising the money. A lot of credit goes to Coach Jeffers and those that have helped you. It's a massive endeavor, and I don't think you ever got overwhelmed by it. Right. There are days I'm sure that you held your head down a little bit.
Not really, Rick. Not really. It has been I know no one's waiting on us tonight, so we might pay Ben overtime to stay after 8 o'clock. But I never got overwhelmed, as you said. But I've been looking at this program for many, many years now, and I was able to kind of put some things in place and had some people kind of in my back pocket that had my back and said, hey, we're here to support you. We're going to help you out in any way that we can, and they followed through on that. It's important to be forthright It's important to follow through on your word and be good for your word. And, probably the last we got 2 big major donations. Of course, our Board of Education helped us out. Special thanks to them. And then the class of 1984 and 1985, they done a combined reunion. They helped us out tremendously. It was a 5-figure donation that they gave us. So, but the last, we haven't spoke about this yet, but our middle school program. So the J.J. Watt Foundation, and I would advise anybody that runs any type of after-school activity for middle school age kids to Google search the J.J. Watt Foundation. That's Justin J. Watt, the one that retired from the Cardinals just a few years ago. His brother right now, T.J. Watt, plays for the Pittsburgh Steelers, and I think they got a brother playing fullback.
They do.
So that is the family, and we received almost $10,000. It was like $9,970 from the J.J. Watt Foundation, and that purchased 25 sets of headgear, 25 singlets, which will be arriving tomorrow, and then a full-size competition mat. And they've got the J.J. Watt logo all over them. That's the 3rd grant that we've received in Scott County for that. Winfield received one some years back. Huntsville Middle School received some a few years back, and then we partnered. Scott Wrestling partnered with Fairview Elementary School, and we got that middle school thing.
Right.
Well, we're running about 8 to 10 middle school kids right now, and you have to have a feeder program for sure. So, all that's come into place. But no, you would think that there were days where you hang your head and say, wow, but I've not had that yet. It's been so good to see these young men step up to the table and say, I'm all in. This is what we're going to do. And there's many ways you can motivate these guys, I think about our Scott High football team, which I'm passionate about. I don't coach football anymore. Once I discovered the sport of wrestling, that's kind of what interests me as far as my sports interests go. That and fantasy football right now. I think I'm sitting 3rd in their fantasy football league, so I'm doing okay. And my name on fantasy football is WrestleMania. So, we're all in on that, okay? Maybe I'll pull out the trophy this year. I don't know. But, we're excited about that. We're excited about kind of what that looks like going forward. And, I guess we could talk all night about those things. But, we're 2 weeks from tomorrow. We're on the mat at McQuarrie County. Got a scrimmage this coming week, and we believe we'll have a scrimmage around the 16th as well. So I think we'll be traveling for a scrimmage. Not got those details quite worked out yet, but we're excited about middle school, and the parents have been great. Our support's been great, and we've wanted everything so far. We've wanted everything so far, and I say we. I don't use that word lightly. Right. The work that you guys hear, all the work that's done behind the scenes, all the support with the board, the cooperation from our student athletes. It's just been it's a tremendous effort, tremendous undertaking. A lot of work has went into it, but man, it's worth it.
Indeed. All right. Well, we could probably talk on that. You could talk on that. Anyway.
Absolutely. There's no doubt about it.
You don't have the producer's monitor in your ear, but Greg was about 15 seconds from cutting your mic off. And so, no, we are out of time, but Jason Jeffers.
Greg's a class of 95, too.
85. Bo Laxton, Ezra Terry, we thank you guys for coming out. Mason Akers, your teammate here. Gunnar Smith, another teammate here. Thank you all for being here tonight. And Thursday night, Birchfield School, 5 o'clock, Scott High, McCreary Central, and York Institute. 3-way scrimmage. Be sure to get out and support these guys as they get their season started. That's going to do it for us, and that's also going to do it for the first half of our season here on the Roundtable. We're going to break for the holidays, and so with that, let me thank some folks. And, of course, it starts with Tim Smith and Rick Keaton, who are up here every night. Greg Baum behind the scenes working the production angle of it. Leetta Boyd is here every week as well. She's the kind of the bodyguard guarding the door. She's the bouncer of the room here at the C. Michael Lay Technology Center. Baby J's Pizza for the pizza. Also, Leetta, by the way, she does the set decoration that you see here. And Tony at Trophy Masters does all the set decoration, the props that you see. If you see any of these shirts you like, be sure to stop by Trophy Masters. Hey, no matter what team you support in Scott County, middle school, high school, he can hook you up. Most of all, thank you to all the student athletes from Oneida, from Scott High School, football, soccer, everyone cheerleaders, everyone who stopped by and been with us through the first half of the season. And let me thank our sponsors as well of the Roundtable: First National Bank, Twin K Construction, Baby J's Pizza, Razak's, Mark's Family Pharmacy, El Rey, South Fork Physical Therapy, Tommy's Motorsports, Mayor-elect Lori Phillips Jones, and Mountain People's Health Councils. With that, we will see you Friday night from York Institute. And as far as the Roundtable, we'll see you after Christmas. Good night, everybody.